Yesterday, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, Spain beat Argentina 1-0 in extra time. Ferran Torres scored in the 106th minute. 80,000 people inside the stadium went insane. 1 billion more watched around the world. By now, you've seen the highlights. You've seen the tears. You've seen the trophy lifted. But there's a number nobody mentioned during the broadcast. A number bigger than any goal, any scoreline, any contract. $13 billion. That is what the 2026 FIFA World Cup generated, not for the players, not for the winning nation, not for the host cities, but for FIFA. The organization that runs the tournament. The organization that, by the way, is legally registered as a non-profit in Switzerland. Spain, the champions, received $51 million. That is approximately 0.39% of what FIFA generated from this tournament. Today, we're going to follow the money. And what we find reveals something about how the biggest event in the history of sport actually works, that nobody in the football media has told you clearly. Let's start with what Spain actually earned. And let's be precise, because the number is more complicated than the headline. FIFA distributed a total of $871 million in prize money across all 48 participating teams, a 65% increase from the $440 million distributed at Qatar 2022. That sounds like a lot. And compared to previous World Cups, it is. Spain, as the winner, collects $50 million in performance-based prize money. Add the $10 million in qualification funding every team receives and the $2.5 million in preparation funding, and the total payout to the Spanish Football Federation crosses $63.5 million. Argentina, the runners-up, takes home $34 million. England, who beat France 6-4 in an extraordinary third-place match, earns $29 million. And the United States, who were eliminated in the round of 16 on home soil by Belgium, in what was the most painful exit for the host nation, received $16 million. Every single team that qualified, including the ones knocked out in the group stage, received at least $12.5 million guaranteed. Just for showing up. That sounds generous. Until you see where that money goes, and doesn't go. FIFA pays the prize money directly to each national federation, not to the players. What the federation does with it, how much goes to the squad, how much goes to youth development, how much disappears into administrative costs, is entirely up to them. Transparency varies enormously between nations. But here's the number that stopped me cold when I found it. The $51 million Spain earned for winning the World Cup is less than the transfer fee Brighton paid this week for a 19-year-old Croatian defender who spent most of the tournament on the bench. One club. One teenager. More money than a World Cup title. And here's another comparison that puts it in perspective. The FIFA Club World Cup, a tournament almost nobody watched, played in empty stadiums earlier this year, paid its winner up to $125 million. 2.5 times what Spain earned for winning the actual World Cup. So where did the other $12.9 billion go? FIFA's total revenue for the 4-year commercial cycle that ends with this World Cup is projected to hit $13 billion. That's a 45% increase over the Qatar 2022 cycle, which itself had generated $7 billion. And the 8 years before that, $12.5 billion combined. This growth doesn't happen by accident. FIFA has 4 revenue pillars, and each one has grown to a scale that makes other major sports organizations look small. Pillar 1, broadcast rights. Television and streaming networks around the world paid FIFA approximately $4.3 billion for the right to show World Cup matches. That's up from $3.1 billion in the Qatar cycle. The biggest single jump came from the United States, where rights revenue increased by 94% compared to 2022. Fox and Telemundo hold the US rights. Those deals alone are worth billions. Pillar 2, sponsorship. Every brand you saw on the pitch-side boards, every logo on every broadcast graphic, every name attached to the halftime show, they paid for it. And the list of who paid is revealing. For the first time in the tournament's history, all 16 global sponsorship positions were filled. FIFA's top-tier 7 brands including Adidas, Coca-Cola, and Visa pay an estimated $70 to $100 million annually each for global rights across all FIFA competitions. That's a minimum of $500 million per year just from 7 companies. Tier 2 sponsors 8 brands including Bank of America, Verizon, Frito-Lay, and the Chinese brands Mengniu Dairy and Hisense, paid between $65 and $95 million each for this tournament specifically. Total sponsorship revenue for 2026, an estimated $2.69 billion. Pillar 3, Ticketing and Hospitality. This is the fastest growing stream, and the numbers are extraordinary. The Qatar World Cup generated $929 million from matchday revenue. For 2026, with 104 matches instead of 64, across 16 host cities in some of the most commercially sophisticated stadiums in North America, FIFA's target is $3 billion. A 216% increase. And Pillar 4, Licensing. Every official World Cup jersey sold by Adidas pays FIFA a royalty. Every Panini sticker album. Every EA Sports FC game featuring the World Cup. Every keychain, every foam finger, every digital collectible. These are near the 100% margin products for FIFA, minimal cost, maximum return. Add it all together, for $0.3 billion in TV rights. $2.69 billion in sponsorship. $3 billion in ticketing. Hundreds of millions in licensing. Total, somewhere between $8.9 billion and $13 billion, depending on which projection you use. FIFA gave back $871 million in prize money. That's roughly 6 to 8 cents of every dollar they made. And remember, FIFA is a non-profit. Let's talk about the sponsors. Because the story of who's on that list, and who's not, reveals something fascinating about how the business of the World Cup actually works. The obvious names are all there. Adidas, the official apparel partner, paying somewhere north of $70 million annually for the global rights. Coca-Cola, a FIFA partner since 1974, over 50 years of continuous World Cup association. Visa. Hyundai. Qatar Airways, still a partner despite the controversy that surrounded their hosting of the previous tournament. But look at who else made the list: Bank of America, Verizon, Frito-Lay. These are quintessentially American brands, writing 9-figure checks to be part of a global football tournament. That tells you something about how much the North American market has changed. A decade ago, these brands would never have prioritized the World Cup. Today, 38% of US sports fans, and 55% of those aged 18 to 34, say they plan to watch. The brands are following the audience. And then there are the Chinese brands, Mengniu Dairy and Hisense. Their presence reflects FIFA's deliberate strategy of using this tournament to bridge the world's 2 largest consumer markets, America and China, in a single commercial event. Now here is the part that nobody in the mainstream sports media talks about clearly. The most recognizable football brand at this World Cup, arguably more recognizable than Adidas, did not pay FIFA a single dollar in official sponsorship. Nike. Adidas is FIFA's official partner. Nike is not. But Nike dressed 14 of the 48 teams at this World Cup, including Brazil, England, France, Portugal, and the United States. And Nike's marketing campaigns around the tournament, their advertising, their athlete appearances, their social content, consistently generated more engagement than most official sponsors. This is called ambush marketing. And Nike has made it an art form. In 2010, during the Adidas-sponsored South Africa World Cup, Nike's ambush campaign reportedly generated more media buzz than any official sponsor. FIFA has tried for decades to stop it. And for decades, it hasn't worked. The lesson: paying to be an official partner buys you legal protection and premium placement. But it doesn't guarantee you the biggest share of the cultural conversation. Nike proved that. Again. Beyond FIFA, beyond the federations, there are 3 categories of winners in a World Cup that almost never appear in the financial coverage. The clubs. Every player at this World Cup, Lamine Yamal, Vinicius Jr., Erling Haaland, is contracted to a club. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester City. Those clubs agreed to release their most valuable assets for 6 weeks with no direct payment, and absorb the full financial risk if a player got injured. FIFA introduced a club protection program to compensate clubs financially for players called up to World Cup squads. For 2026, the total compensation pool for clubs was $209 million, distributed based on how many players each club contributed and how far their nations advanced. Real Madrid, whose squad provided players for Spain, Brazil, France, and multiple other nations, received one of the largest individual club payouts. Bayern Munich, Manchester City, and PSG followed closely. The biggest clubs in European football were effectively subsidized by FIFA for a tournament that FIFA profits from by the billions. The agents. Agents are the least visible but most financially efficient participants in any World Cup. A World Cup performance doesn't just affect national pride, it affects transfer market valuations. A player who performs well at a World Cup can see their market value increase by tens of millions of dollars overnight. Consider, Ferran Torres scored the winning goal in the World Cup final last night. He plays for Barcelona. His market value before yesterday, estimated at $35 to $45 million. His agent's negotiating position for any future contract or transfer, transformed. 1 goal. 106th minute. And an entire financial equation changes. Multiply this by 200 players who performed well at the tournament. The total uplift in transfer market value generated by this World Cup is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. None of it goes to FIFA. All of it goes through agents. The host cities and Adidas. The United States, Canada, and Mexico hosted. And while the economic impact studies will take months to compile, early estimates suggest the 3 host nations combined absorb between $3 and $5 billion in economic activity, hotels, restaurants, transport, local spending. New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, these cities bet on football in a way they never had before. And Adidas. Let's end here. Because the official partner story has a financial dimension beyond the sponsorship fee. Every official World Cup ball, the Adidas Fußballliebe, sold at a premium globally. Every official jersey carries the Adidas logo. The tournament generates a commercial halo effect that boosts Adidas global sales for 12 to 18 months post-tournament. The sponsorship fee is a cost. The resulting revenue is multiples of that cost. Adidas has calculated this for 50 years. And they keep paying. Spain are the champions of the world. Ferran Torres scored the goal. Lamine Yamal was extraordinary. Rodri controlled the final from start to finish. The sporting story is real and it's beautiful. But the financial story tells you something about modern football that the broadcast never will. FIFA generated $13 billion from a tournament played by players who earn nothing from that $13 billion. The winner, Spain, received $51 million. Less than Brighton paid for a teenage defender this week. Less than half what the Club World Cup winner earned in a tournament nobody watched. The clubs that produced the players absorbed all the injury risk and received a fraction of the revenue in compensation. The agents whose clients performed well stand to earn tens of millions from the transfer market uplift. The sponsors spent hundreds of millions to put their logos on the most watched event in human history. And Adidas, which has sponsored every World Cup since 1970, will sell jerseys and boots for another 18 months on the back of this tournament. Football is the most popular sport in the world. The World Cup is the most watched event in the world. And the financial architecture behind it is one of the most sophisticated commercial ecosystems ever built, invisible to almost everyone watching. That's what this channel is here to show you. If this investigation was valuable to you, subscribe. Because next week, we go inside the financial crisis at one of the most famous clubs in football history, a club that has spent over $1 billion in debt and is now at the mercy of an owner whose own business empire is crumbling. The numbers are extraordinary. And nobody in the football press is connecting all the dots. See you then.